Do you know how this petition came about? Was it you or your family?
Well, no, it was really suggested by CrimeCon, which is this conference we're at in Las Vegas. And I didn't know anything about CrimeCon going into this, but my objective in working with the media throughout all this has been to push the government, the police, to do the right thing. And so I want to keep the pressure on. It's not going to go away. I'm not going to go away. And so I thought, well, this would be maybe an interesting venue to continue that effort. And they suggested that they said, well, we need to make something positive come out of this. And, we have, what have they had, 5,000 people here. And we talked about what needs to be done. And we said, well, there's some big things that need to be done and some not so big things. One of the manageable tasks that ought to be done is the police. Somehow we've got to force the police or take it away from them the ability to go ahead and test some of the crime scene evidence that was never tested for DNA. And why that's never been done and won't be done by the police, it baffles me. But so they said, let's get people behind it. We'll petition the governor of Colorado to make this happen. Either take the case away from the police, which I would love. It'll never be solved if it stays in the Boulder Police hands, or at least get the crime scene material tested for DNA samples. The technology has advanced so far in the DNA world from 20 years ago, and to just not do that is it baffles me. And we're not asking to be forgiven or apologized to. Just test the DNA. Let's solve this crime. And the police won't do it. And so we're petitioning the governor, and a lot of people have gotten behind it to say, this is crazy, make it happen.
You say you're baffled. Do you have any idea why they won't test it?
I think the Boulder Police decided on day one that it was the parents that did this horrible thing and have not been confused by facts or evidence on that conclusion. And the same people that concluded that on day one are still there. And either they don't want to be embarrassed if the answer isn't what they decided 25 years ago, or they're just totally incompetent. I don't know. I really don't. It's baffling to me that a police department would be so ignorant of the facts and dismissive of the facts, and in fact misrepresent the facts publicly. It's crazy.
Have you had any contact over the years or recently with the governor's office? Do they even know this is coming?
No, we have not had any contact with them.
And then when's the last time you had any contact with anybody from Boulder Police?
Oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, I asked for a meeting with, at the time, the new police chief. This is before the current police chief. And we had a meeting in Boulder for, I don't know, a couple hours. And my point to them was, look, to the new chief, I hoped there was a new direction. I said, look, the past is the past. Let's start a new chapter here. I want this resolved and solved. If you, Boulder Police, solve this crime, you'll hear nothing but praise from me. But please get on with it. That was the last time I've ever heard anything from them or had any contact with them.
What was their response to that?
Well, at the meeting, they were just listening. And I think by evidence, their response was, nah, we're not going to do that. We know who the killer is. So we're not going to mess around with DNA. And, I was told by an experienced prosecutor that she's never seen a police department try to explain away foreign male DNA in a sexual assault case. So it's just shocking. And yet that's what they have tried to do, have not been able to. We still have foreign male DNA that hasn't been attached to any person. And that's a problem for the police, but they tend to ignore that. Well, it's not a DNA case. Don't worry about that. It's nonsense.
And you said foreign male DNA. Is that what you're saying? Foreign?
Well, it's not been identified to a
No,
person.
I know, yeah, unidentified. I didn't.
Yeah, unidentified. That's
Yeah.
a better word. Yeah.
Do you still have hope 25 years later that this case will be solved?
I think it'll be solved eventually. It will never be solved if the jurisdiction for this case stays in the hands of the Boulder Police, or the people that were there 25 years ago and are still there retire and go off to Florida, and we get some competent detectives in Boulder. But until that happens, it won't be solved.
Can you tell me, 25 years later, your thoughts? I mean, how often do you think about JonBenét and?
Well, it's pretty much, really, it's I have pictures on my desk of JonBenét and Beth, my oldest daughter, that was killed in a car accident before that happened with JonBenét. And that is kind of a bittersweet memory that comes up. But I think about both of them frequently. I wouldn't say every day, but because you get up and you're focused on the day, but I get reminders every now and then that remind. A friend of mine, a minister, said, today, and this was 25 years ago, he said, today memories of JonBenét will bring pain. Eventually, memories will bring joy. And that's, I found to be true. So it's normally a pleasant memory that comes to mind of my children that are not with me anymore.
And then and I know this is an impossible question, but try to answer it if you could. What effect has this case had on your life? What effect has her death had on your life?
Well, my oldest daughter, Beth, was killed 4 years before in a car accident one afternoon, just a tragic accident. And that really took me to the floor. I was just devastated. But it caused me to examine my faith, what's life all about? How can I continue on without someone I love dearly? And particularly a child. I've experienced other things in life. There's nothing worse for a parent than the loss of a child. It's my opinion. But and I've told people this. I said, the killer of JonBenét, and that was totally different than my daughter Beth. That was an accident. This was a willful act by another so-called human being to take the life of a child. It's just you can't comprehend the mentality that someone would do that. But I've said, the police and their actions. JonBenét's death took away my desire to live for a while. The police actions took away my ability to live for a while. I lost my job. Victims of violent crime normally end up broke, and we pretty much got close to that. So yeah, it affected not only my life, but my children's life. Now my grandchildren will be impacted, particularly if this is never resolved. So yeah, it dramatically affected my life. Not just the loss of my daughter, which was, you don't get over that. You move ahead. And, but we had to move ahead with some pretty heavy assaults by my fellow man, and the police and the media, of course, took the bait and ran with it. So, but people have been wonderful to us. I've had people that early on said, "How is it to be out in public? You must be getting, people treating you poorly." And I said, "No, people are wonderful to us. It's so uplifting. I mean, people stop us in the street and give us hugs, and I'm so sorry what's being done to you folks." And it's like, wow, my fellow man really cares about people. And it changed me to be a much more compassionate person towards my fellow man. Everybody has a problem. Everybody's carrying a burden, and you don't know it, but you just have to look at somebody and say, I know life's not easy, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy for you. I don't know what your circumstance is, but you have, I'm sure, some burdens you're carrying. So it just opened up my eyes to that, and so it changed. That changed me for the better, frankly, as a human being.
And then give me some hits, runs, and errors here. If I can ask, how old are you now?
78, believe it or not.
Yeah, you look good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
It's the makeup.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's my line.
Yeah.
And then where are you living? What state are you living in?
We live in Utah,
Live in Utah, yes.
Southern Utah. Yeah.
And tell me what you are working now.
I am. Yeah, we have a air charter company that I got involved with. And I don't own it. I just manage it, but it's kept me busy and kept food on the table.
Yeah, right. And you're remarried.
I'm remarried. Remarried 10 years to Jan, my wife. It's been a real blessing in my life, and she didn't know what she was getting into. She tends to get the media calls and the people that call because she's easier to find than me, I guess.
You don't do a lot of this, though.
No. When I was doing it, it was because I wanted to keep pressure on the police to do the right thing. It wasn't to seek, exoneration or but it was just, this has got to be solved, and I'm not going to go away until it is solved. And that's, so any media appearance I did that was always my objective, and it had to have that potential outcome. And same with this event this weekend. It's to keep pressure on the government, the police, to do the right thing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Is there anything you didn't say that you wanted to, or anything I didn't ask you that you wanted me to?
Well, this petition we talked about is important. That people that believe that the DNA ought to be tested further in this crime, which I think is just a very logical thing to do. If they can sign that petition, the more we get, the better. I think we're up to a couple thousand now of signatures. It's only been a day, but people don't understand why in the world wouldn't they do that? It makes no sense. And so if that would be helpful, if people would do that.
And when I know this is all just sort of coming together, when do you hope to present it? I mean, I don't even know how these things work. When will it be given to the governor?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it just got started. The momentum's, I think, building. We spoke to a group of about 3,500 people yesterday that were in attendance at this meeting, and asked them the same thing. Please, if you think this is a good thing, please support it. And I think they were generally pretty supportive. So, but I don't know what happens next. Quite honestly, it's the first time I've been involved with this.
Yeah,
but
I've done a couple. I just don't know how the mechanics of it work. I'll ask somebody to change that.
Yeah, I don't know, but the hope is we'll get thousands and thousands of signatures and go to the governor of Colorado and say, please do the right thing here.
Right.
And I think he will.